Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. There were so many students who were requesting this topic called as Leavitt diamond model from organizational change. So here is my video on this particular topic. I'll be explaining everything in this particular video. So let's begin. So let's talk about the first thing, that is the introduction part of this Leavitt theory. So basically in 1960s, Professor Leavitt, he presented a model where he explained organizational change. Basically in this model he had 4 components, and those components were structure, task, technology and people. So these were the 4 components of this model. Again, a very good question for MCQs. We mostly get these types of questions. Who proposed this theory? When this theory was proposed? What were the main components of this particular theory? And he also said that all these 4 elements are interconnected and interdependent on each other. And that is why he reflected this whole connection between these 4 components in the form of diamond. I'll show this model to you right now. Then you will be able to understand what I'm saying. So what he did, he explained these 4 components in the shape of a diamond, and that is why the model was named as Leavitt diamond model. So let's go to the model. So this was the model. You can look at this. This looks like a diamond shape, right? And he said that the first component is structure. It is linked with technology, linked with task, linked with people. Similarly, all the components are interlinked with each other. So they were interlinked and interdependent. This is also a very important point that needs to be remembered, right? Let's move on to the first component. I will explaining all the components now. Let's move to the first component, that is called the structure component. So what happened in structure? He said that structure is the foundation of any organization. We also know that in any formal organization, structure plays a very critical role. That what kind of structure the organization is having. The reason here is that it maintains your staff, it maintains the level of hierarchies, it maintains your departments, it also includes how they all interact with each other, it also controls the communication style of the organization, because in different levels of hierarchies and departments, we all know that communication plays a very crucial role, and that is also dependent on structure. So that is the reason why structure is very, very important, because it is one of those things that binds the organization. Another important thing is that it is very important that if any change will happen, then structure needs to be adjusted as well. We need to understand one thing, that if we want to bring any kind of change, we need to understand that it cannot be changed without change in structure. Because if your structure is too rigid, you will not be able to bring any kind of innovation. You will not be able to bring any kind of change, either at the level of functional level, either at the business level or at the corporate level. So it is very important that if you are bringing any kind of change in the organization, you also need to bring change in the structure. So it is very, very important. And that's why it is a very crucial element of this model. If there is any change in the structure, there will be a change in other components of the model also. So Leavitt also said that if there will be change in the structure, then other components will also be affected, because structure has the relationship with other 3 components. So we can conclude one thing over here, that if we want to change anything, then we need to change the structure. And if we'll change the structure, it will bring change in 3 things, that is people, that is task, and that is technology. Right? So let's understand the relationship of structure with all the other 3 components now. Let's talk about the first thing, and that is the relationship between structure and the people component. So he said that if there is any change in the structure, it does affect the change in employees also. So agar koi bhi change structure mein aayega, if there is any change in the structure, then employees will also get affected, and you have to bring certain changes in employees also. So how this will happen? Because it will bring positive or negative changes in their behavior and their productivity. So if you will change the structure, then most probably the people will get affected, because their designation might change, their positions might change, their power can be either high or either low, and because of this their behavior will change and their productivity will also get affected. For example, if you will change into structure and some person loses his power, loses his designation, loses his authority, then what will happen? His productivity and his behavior will come down, and it will give negative impact to the organization. Similarly, if there is any change in the employees, it will bring change in the organizational structure also. So we need to understand it's a vice versa relationship also, because if you bring any kind of changes in the employees level, there will be certain changes in the structure level also, right? We need to understand this also, and we can take this through an example also. What can the example we can take over here? That if the employee join in who have strong technical skills. If some person is having a strong technical skill, then you may have to change the structure. Why? Because now the people, because that particular person doesn't require high supervision. He requires a minimum supervision because he is capable enough to do technical jobs at his own level. And that is the reason why your structure needs to be now more wider as compared to narrower. Right? And that is why we need to say that employers can also bring change to the organization structure. So it's a vice versa relationship. Another important thing is relationship between structure and task. So when there is any change in the organization structure, it does bring changes in the different tasks which needs to be performed by the employees. So if there is any change in the structure, then it will also bring change in the tasks which are performed by the employees. Let's see how this will be changed. For instance, if there is a special department to be set up to improve the performance and the support operation, then employees of other will be required to perform different tasks as per the requirement of the new structure. So we need to understand that if you are changing structure, for example, if you're opening up a new department, then obviously that department will have some 10 tasks, and that task will be performed by that department will be taken from some other people, from other department. So for example, if X department was doing something and now you have formed a new department called as Y department, then X will have to let go certain tasks which will be performed by the Y now. And that is why this will bring a change in the task also. So structure basically affects both the components, that is your employee and well as the task. Let's move to the third thing, and that is the relationship between structure and the technology. So what happens if the structure is changed? The technology brings revolutionary changes in the organizational structure. We need to understand one thing, that at one point of time, nobody would have ever thought that work from home is also possible. Nobody would ever have thought that virtual organization can exist. So that is the reason why technology has played a key role, and we have personally observed it in the last 1 year in the COVID times. So it is important to understand that technology has brought a lot of change in organizational structure also. It has bring a lot of virtual organization, flat structures, cross-functional structure, that all has been possible because of technology. So in present time, procedure and processes are being automated, and because of which there is a change in structure, and that will have less number of employees, more strong technological infrastructure. So if more and more automation will be added, then it will definitely affect your structure. It will also affect, because when more automation will happen, the employees will also get impacted, right? Because more automation means less employees are required. And if there are less employees are required, that means automatically it will affect the structure, right? So that is a interdependent relationship between technology, employees and structure. Likewise, new setup of department may also demand shifting or new technology. So when you are setting up a new department or you set up a new machine, you're bringing up a new technology, that will also affect your structural changes, because that department can be a new department and that can force you to start a new department, or even certain times starting a new product line also. That is also possible, right? So all these three components has a strong effect and relationship with structure. Let's move to the second component, and that is called the task component. So task refer to the activities which are being performed by the employees. So all the employees whatever task they are performing, they are included in this model, right? In addition to this, task also encompass bigger actions such as organizational goals. So tasks are taken at two levels. One is what employees are doing, and what is another task what is organization is doing. So organization goals can also be taken as task, right? Therefore, tasks are about who is doing what, and what purpose organization is pursuing, right? So it will be a task as including both the things. First, what employees are doing, at what level they are doing, and the third important thing, for what purpose they are doing it. That means what are the organization vision, what is the organization vision, mission, and what is the organization goal. So it all be included in the task part. Let's talk about its relationship with people. So we need to understand one thing. So there is a change in employee, then their task will also get changed. Why? Because we know that every employee has their own skill set. So if X employee was doing something, it is not possible for the next employee to do same thing, or do it in the same way or in the same efficient manner. So in the same way, if new actions and tasks are being introduced, it will surely affect employees. So that means if you are introducing a new task that require more technical proficiency, it is possible that your existing employees may not do it, and you may have to bring new people who have more experience and more expertise to do the new task. So it will affect people, right? Task will affect people. The next important thing is how task will affect structure. If the new department is being set up, a new level of hierarchy is being introduced in the organization, the task and the function of employees will also get changed. For example, you are adding a new department, you are adding a level of new hierarchy, then what has happened? Your structure is changing, and what will this new department will do? It will be adding some new task, it will be doing some new task, or it may be doing certain tasks which earlier some other department was doing. So that is the reason why it will affect your structure also, right? The workflow and the process will also get affected. So in the similar way, if the task is being changed, then your structure will also get affected. And if your structure is being changed, then your task is also being affected. So it is having a vice versa relationship with each other. Moving on to the third thing, and that is called task and technology. So how technology will affect task and how task will affect technology. Change in technology will lead to change in task and the action which are being performed by the employees. So for example, you were doing something with an old technology which were having 9 steps, and you were needing people at all, you were requiring people at all the 9 steps. But now if you have a change in technology, you just need 5 steps, and maybe you will be looking for less number of people doing it. So it is very important to understand that any change in technology will definitely bring a change in task. Moving on to the third component, and that is the people component. So what happens is the element of people means the employees of the organization. That is very, very obvious. Employees are the backbone of any organization, and organizational functions and the goal depends on its employees, how they work, what expertise they have, what knowledge and skills they have, and change in employees affects the other elements of the organization as well. So it's a very simple understanding. We all know that it is the employee who makes an organization. So they are the one, what they are doing, how visionary they are, how hardworking they are, what expertise they have, what knowledge they have, what skills they have, how they adapt to their different changes. That is very, very important. So any change in the people, any change, even a single person when leave your organization, if it affects your organization for a certain period, till the time you bring in you bring in another person who can replace that old person. That's very important. So it is very important we value those people, right? But what happens in Indian organization, what I see, that they don't value people. And because of that, in the longer run, they suffer. Moving on to the relationship. The first relationship, we'll be talking about relationship between people and task. So it is important to understand that when tasks are changed, then employee needs to change its old method of doing tasks. So we need to understand one thing, that whenever the task is being changed, if new task is coming up, the employee need to adapt. And they need to understand what is the new task. They need to get proper training also. They need certain kind of coaching from other employees also, so that they can adjust to new task. So obviously there is any change in task, the people needs to adapt. Second important relationship is the relationship between people and the technology. So what happens if there is any new technology if any new technology is coming up in the organization, then again employee will need training, employee will need skills to adapt that new technology, and most of the time application of this new technology, that will also bring in new hiring of people, and that may lead to certain people leaving the organization. So it is very important that technological adaptation is very, very important. And I've given so many examples for this. Look at what happened when computers were introduced in organizations. So many people had to leave organization because they were not knowing computers. But later on, what happened? There were so many people who got the jobs also because they were learning computers. So technology definitely affects people. Third is the relationship between people and the structure. So if any organizational structure is altered, the employees are the first one who needs to be adjusted. Because if you are creating any department, the people has to shift from the older department to the new department. Or if you are bringing up new people to the organization, that will also bring change in terms of autonomy, bring change in terms of authority, bring change in terms of delegation, in terms of responsibility, in terms of task. So all these things will be changed. And this might bring new roles and responsibility to the new structure. So we need to understand one thing, that any change in task, employee needs to adapt. Any change in technology, employee need to adapt. Any change in structure, employee needs to adapt to this change. Moving on to the fourth component, and that is the technological component. So technology helps employees to perform better. We all know that organizations keep on changing technology. Why do they change? Because they want to make people more efficient, make tasks more efficient, so that their organization goals can be achieved in a shorter period of time. Most importantly, it ranges from computers to machines to cellular phones to other softwares to latest machines which are used to provide easier, faster, reliable service like any other element of Leavitt diamond model. Because technology में क्या हो सकता है? Technology, it can have anything. It can be machines, it can be new cellular phones, new laptops, new computers, new softwares which you add on to your people. And most new management information system, that also plays a very crucial role. So if there is any change in this element of technology, there will either you need to replace it, either you need to change it, or you need to upgrade it. So it's very important that if there is any change in new technology, then you need to adapt as an organization, because those organizations who don't adapt to technology, they are not able to survive. The best example you can get over here is the Nokia. Nokia was not able to adapt to the disruptive change of Android, and because of this, they were not able to survive, right? So moving on, how the relationship between technology and the other component. So first is technology with people. So technology must be at par with the needs of employees. That means if anything we are bringing in as a technology, we need to understand the need of the employees as well. And you need to provide them expertise, skills, and with the level of technology. Because if you are not training them properly, then your technology will not help you, right? So the next relationship is the relationship between technology and task. So if there is any change in the task, then technology alteration is also required. So if you are changing any task, you need to change certain technology also. This might not be mandatory, but most of the times it happens. For example, if organization needs to change its registration process, they aim to replace it with more efficient and effective one, and mostly those technology come from technology like online registration process. So earlier you were doing some manual registration, now you are doing some online registration. So at certain level, technology is definitely involved over here. The third relationship is the relationship of technology with the structure. So technology provides solution when the organization alters its structure. So whenever you are altering the structure, then in communication level, at task level, even at some time when the organization is dismantling the huge department to cut cost, then definitely this technology automation will give you the answer. So there are a lot of questions that can be answered through data, through technology, and that is why structural changes can also be very, very important for technology, right? Moving on, what are the advantages of this model? So the first advantage was that this model is good for doing early analysis of change. So whenever you are going for a change or you are planning for change, then this model can help you, because it can guide you about structure, about people, about tasks, about technology. All things can be considered before you go for the change. It gives you an initial path. So we need to understand one thing, that Leavitt model is only applicable when you are planning for any change. This is not something which helps you in implementing it, right? Moving on to the second important thing, it is easy to use and everyone can understand it very easily. It's very easy, and it is very important that the organization understand what are their strengths and how they can manage change. So it basically helps you in understanding your internal processes, right? Moving on to the third one, this model is very popular in the IT based technology companies, because IT industry is basically very frequent to any kind of change. So it is more applicable to IT companies, but I would suggest that it can be applicable to all the companies which work in dynamic industries. What are the disadvantages of this model we have? So first disadvantage, the model does not take into account any external environment. I told you it only focuses on your internal variables. It doesn't focus on anything external environment, and that is the reason, because we also know that a change only happens when it is driven by external factor. Most of the times, most of the companies don't change till the time they face anything from external environment, right? So this is one thing which was not considered. Next important thing, it does not address the issue of organization change of all organizations. It has limited applicability. I told you that it is mostly applicable to those organizations which are working in dynamic business environment, or which are mostly very, very frequent to change, and that is why its applicability is limited. Third, it only provides analysis and does not show any pathway of change. So it basically gives you a lot of information. It also shows you a lot of relationship, but it does not gives you any answer that how you should change. Yeah, how you can bring in change, or what could be the drawbacks of change, or how the things can go in the wrong direction after implementing the change. So these are things are not explained in this model, right? So thanks for watching. If you really like my channel, if you like my content, do subscribe to my channel, do like and share with other students also. For any kind of notes, you can join my Telegram channel. The link in this is in the description. You can join my MCQ series also, which is very, very affordable. I'm adding up a lot of content in the MCQ series, so you can join that MCQ series over there. So we'll be meeting in the next video. Thanks for watching.